The damage was done so badly that we're not going to reconcile, no matter what.
Cody Brown didn't slam a door or throw a tantrum, not where cameras could catch him anyway. But according to insiders close to the Sister Wives set, the moment that $610,000 payout cleared, something snapped. One source described it as an emotional detonation. Cody had already sold off the family's prized Coyote Pass land for $1.5 million. That alone was headline material. But what fans didn't see until now was the storm swirling behind the scenes.
And so however we are made accountable to God, I don't want to be accountable to this church and all their BS.
The red-hot fallout from splitting over half that cash between two women who, not long ago, he'd accused of betrayal. And just when the dust settled, Janelle, cool as ever, allegedly turned to a producer and said one simple thing, "Karma, baby." Cue the collective gasp across TLC Nation. On paper, it looked like a generous act. Cody willingly gave both Janelle and Mary $305,000 apiece, slicing up the Coyote Pass proceeds with what appeared to be magnanimity.
So I'm going to let Mary go and do her thing, because if I'm angry at her, it becomes a fight. I needed her just to go away.
For a brief, almost bizarre moment, fans wondered, had he turned a new leaf? But as the checks were cashed and the silence stretched longer, rumors began circling like vultures. Sources allege Cody didn't go nuclear because of the dollar amount alone. It was what that money represented. Decades of sacrifices, years of control, and perhaps most insultingly, his vision for that land, gone. Coyote Pass wasn't just a patch of dirt in Arizona. It was supposed to be the future, the Great Brown Compound, his legacy. So why would a man who once clung so tightly to that land suddenly give away nearly 2/3 of the profit? Some believe it was a strategic PR move, others say his hand was forced.
Because it just took forever for her to finally realize. It's been done and over for years.
Allegedly, Janelle had explored legal options. Rumor has it, Mary had emails, texts, maybe even paperwork that could have opened up a court battle he didn't want aired. The optics of fighting two ex-wives, mothers to his children, over land ownership. Not great, especially with filming underway and public sympathy wearing thin. But here's the real kicker. Cody may have underestimated just how empowering that windfall would feel to the women he once tried to sideline. Janelle's calm reaction wasn't about pettiness, it was about peace. She got what she felt she was owed, maybe not emotionally, but materially, and she didn't have to raise her voice to get it. That stung.
When we bought the properties, Cody went in and sort of just put everybody's name on title, what seemed like arbitrarily. I hired a lawyer because Cody was ignoring me.
And insiders claim Robyn noticed. One source whispered, Robyn saw it in his face. He wasn't mad at them. He was humiliated. And that's when it got even messier, because Coyote Pass wasn't just split, it was rewritten. And the story of how it all began. The land, the dream, the illusion of unity might explain why Cody's so desperate to rewrite the ending now. They used to call it the Dream Compound. Coyote Pass was meant to be the final chapter, the Brown family's legacy carved into the red rock of Arizona. Cody had drawn up fantasy floor plans in his head, imagined grand entrances and private quarters, and preached unity while quietly staking 97% ownership in his name. That number alone, 97%, said everything. For years, Cody's name dominated the paperwork, the decisions, the vision. The wives, they got sketches on a whiteboard and promises in the wind. And now, years later, that same man just gave away more than $600,000 worth of that dream to two women who no longer share his home, his name, or his protection. It's no wonder he allegedly blew up once the camera stopped rolling. But here's what viewers forget.
And I wanted to explore options for bringing a little bit of pressure for him to perform the simple, most basic human decent thing, which is put our names on all the titles.
Coyote Pass never really belonged to all of them equally. From the moment it was purchased, the land was a symbol of hope, wrapped in control. Cody would talk about our land, but legally, it was his land. Janelle and Mary were expected to contribute to the payments, the upkeep, the fantasy, but they didn't hold the keys, and that imbalance simmered beneath the surface for years. Janelle especially was vocal about her desire to build. She even bought an RV just to stay on the property and push progress forward. And what did she get for her effort? Silence. Delay? Excuses. Robyn, meanwhile, stayed in her rented house, secure and separate, while Cody ping-ponged between guilt and gatekeeping. So when the land finally sold, insiders say Janelle wasn't just relieved, she was vindicated. Her efforts to claim a slice of that value weren't about revenge. They were about being heard. Sources close to the family allege that as the sale drew near, Janelle and Mary both began consulting outside legal counsel. Not with threats, yet, but with quiet curiosity. Could they challenge the original ownership breakdown? Could years of family contributions, money, labor, sacrifice be translated into something tangible? And that's when the pressure began to mount. Cody, aware of how ugly it could get if family skeletons got dragged into court, allegedly started making calls. He didn't want this going public, one insider said. He knew the optics would destroy him, so he folded, grudgingly, but made it look gracious. Hence the payout, hence the spin. But as with all things Brown family, the surface never tells the full story. That land held memories, some warm, many bitter. And for Cody, watching it go, watching two women walk away with equal shares of what he once considered his, might have cracked something deeper. Not just his pride, but the illusion that he was still in charge. And just when he thought the dust had settled, Janelle went and bought new land. On her own, with her name only. And you can imagine exactly how that went over. Cody once believed he could orchestrate everything, who lived where, who got what, and who stayed quiet. But the moment Janelle staked her own claim with that land purchase, completely separate from the Coyote Pass fiasco, it sent a message louder than any confrontation ever could. She wasn't just walking away from him, she was building without him. And not just metaphorically. According to local real estate chatter, Janelle's new lot is nestled just outside Flagstaff, close enough to remain near the kids, but far enough to send a clear signal. I'm not waiting on you anymore.
I really just don't like them. I don't want to know them. I don't want to be friends with them. I just don't like them.
Insiders say that's when Cody's frustrations, which had been simmering, finally boiled over. Not because of the land sale, not even because of the money, but because of the power shift. For decades, he'd been the architect of every major family decision. And now, here were two women, Janelle and Mary, publicly cashing out and privately setting roots without his input. Sources whisper that after the sale closed, Cody stormed into what one crew member called a full-on monologue behind closed doors. He said they were ungrateful, that he gave them too much, that Robyn was the only one who actually supported him, the insider shared. It was all pouring out, anger, humiliation, regret, like it had been bottled for years. But that eruption didn't get him sympathy. In fact, it made things worse. Because right after that, Mary posted a cryptic quote about choosing peace over pretending. And then came Janelle's now iconic moment, caught by production cameras but not aired, where she reportedly sipped her coffee and quipped, "Karma baby," in response to someone asking how she felt about the $610,000 windfall. It wasn't gloating, it was grace. But it cut deeper than any insult could have. Because to Cody, that was supposed to be his victory lap, his redemption arc, not a cautionary tale. And through all this, Robyn was watching. According to one family confidant, she tried to be the peacemaker behind the scenes, telling Cody to let go of the money and focus on what we still have. But even she couldn't mask the worry. With the land gone, the family legacy she'd envisioned, the sprawling Brown estate where her children could raise their children, was nothing more than a pipe dream. She thought they'd build there, the source said. Now there's nothing left to build on. And yet, there's more. Because what nobody saw coming was just how far Cody might be willing to go to get control back. Allegedly, he's been exploring ways to reopen old financial claims, trying to account for losses linked to the land's original purchase. But the more he digs, the more receipts start turning up. And let's just say, some of those numbers don't exactly add up. Those receipts, they're already being whispered about in back channels, because while Cody may want to recoup his so-called losses, what's trickling out now could flip the script entirely. Sources close to the family say that when the original Coyote Pass purchase happened, it wasn't just Cody's money on the table. Janelle allegedly funneled in funds from her own accounts. Mary reportedly dipped into her savings. Even Christine, who let's remember didn't walk away with a single dime from the land sale, was rumored to have chipped in at the start, back when the family still spoke in we instead of me. So now, as Cody attempts to frame himself as the lone investor who sacrificed, a different picture is emerging. One where the women's financial contributions were real, significant, and long ignored. And here's where things get stickier. Insiders claim Janelle kept records. Not flashy documents, but the kind of everyday paper trail a woman builds over time. Bank statements, PayPal transfers, old text confirmations. She wasn't planning to go to court, one insider said, but she wanted to be ready if Cody tried anything shady. And now that he's allegedly poking around with a calculator and a chip on his shoulder, those records may become her shield, or her sword. Because if even half the whispers are true, the narrative of Cody as the grand financial benefactor starts to crumble and fast. Meanwhile, Mary has stayed more publicly quiet, but her tone has shifted too. That once hesitant, half in half out posture is gone. She's traveling more, posting confidently, and dropping subtle jabs that seasoned fans are decoding in real time. The latest, quote about returning to yourself after decades of being erased. Coincidence? Maybe. But in this family, timing is never just timing. And while Mary may not be firing off press interviews, sources say she's been in steady contact with both Christine and Janelle. And that group chat? Let's just say it's not all pictures of grandbabies and dinner plates. As for Cody, his frustration is reportedly bleeding into production. According to someone familiar with the current shoot, he's been difficult on set, snapping at crew, pushing back on story arcs, and insisting certain topics stay off camera. He feels ganged up on. The source revealed, he's losing control of the narrative, and he knows it. And that loss of narrative control, it's exactly what's eating him alive. For years, he shaped the family's image. Now, with Janelle holding quiet receipts, Mary reclaiming her voice, and Christine watching like a hawk from the sidelines, that image is cracking wide open. And we haven't even gotten to Robyn's reaction behind closed doors, the moment she realized the land was gone. The money was split, and the power dynamic she thought was forever had just evaporated. Robyn, once dubbed the favorite wife by fans and critics alike, reportedly didn't take the Coyote Pass fallout as gracefully as she let on. Publicly, she smiled and stood by Cody, but privately, insiders claim she was blindsided by how much money walked out the door. Over $600,000 gone in one swoop, and not to build something for their kids, but to pad the exits of the women who'd left.
I can totally understand how she would feel in that space.
One source familiar with the family's finances said Robyn was stunned and angry, not just at the payout, but at the fact that Cody allegedly didn't consult her fully before sealing the deal. She thought they'd go over everything together, the source whispered, but by the time she realized what he'd promised, it was already done. That tension didn't stay locked in the house. According to someone close to the TLC crew, Robyn and Cody were caught on a hot mic arguing during a break in filming. The subject? Whether he'd been manipulated into the split, or if he'd just handed over the money to make himself look good. The quote that leaked? "We needed that money for our future, not their fresh starts." And that single line has sparked a whole new wave of speculation, because if Robyn's feeling betrayed, what happens to her loyalty, her influence, her grip on Cody's increasingly fragile public image? Meanwhile, producers are allegedly salivating. With the land gone and financial lines redrawn, the show suddenly has a new heartbeat. Money as the new battleground. In the past, it was affection, time, attention. Now it's ledgers and real estate deeds. And behind the scenes, TLC is reportedly working overtime to capture the tension without breaking contracts. "This is golden," one crew member allegedly said. "It's like Succession, but with prairie skirts." And guess who's quietly watching it all unfold? Christine. She may have walked away from Coyote Pass empty-handed, but she's got something the others don't: freedom. With her new husband David Woolley, her own home, and no direct stake in the financial mess, she's reportedly become the sounding board for both Mary and Janelle. One source says she's even joking about writing a book with them. Not a tell-all, the insider clarified, but something like a survival guide. How to leave, how to rebuild, how to reclaim your name. And while Cody fumes and Robyn simmers, fans are starting to rally behind the women more than ever. Social media is ablaze with cheers for Janelle's independence, side eyes at Robyn's complaints, and a rising curiosity. If this is how the land story ends, what else have they been keeping under wraps? Because if $600,000 is just the tip of the iceberg, what's still buried underneath? What's buried, according to more than one whisper, might include everything from early loan arrangements to hush-hush side deals that were never meant to see the light of day. Rumor has it that years ago, when the family first began investing in Coyote Pass, there were uneven contributions made under the table, some from show bonuses, others from joint accounts that weren't exactly joint. And with the financial spotlight now burning hot, those hidden deals could become ticking time bombs. If Janelle ever goes public with her side, one source warned, there'll be receipts no one saw coming. We're talking emails, transfers, stuff that could make Cody look really bad, and fans have taken notice. Social media has erupted into amateur detective mode, dissecting old footage and matching up storylines with public records. They're comparing property dates, LLC filings, even background audio from old episodes where one wife says one thing and Cody claims another. The prevailing theory? That Cody was never planning to split the profits at all, until pressure, both legal and reputational, cornered him. And what sealed the deal wasn't just Janelle's quiet threat of court or Mary's mounting frustration. It was Christine's absence. Think about it. Christine didn't get a dime from the Coyote Pass sale, not because she didn't deserve it, but because by the time the land was finally offloaded, she was already gone. And that has reportedly haunted Cody. Sources claim he's brought her up repeatedly in recent weeks, telling Robyn that he should have handled things differently with Christine, that she's the reason everything is unraveling now. If she'd stayed, none of this would be happening, he allegedly said. But that's just the thing. Christine didn't stay. She left. She moved on, and she made it work without him. And now the remaining women are following her lead. Even Mary, long labeled the most hesitant to break ranks, is starting to shift. After years of waiting for crumbs of affection, she's now flush with $305,000 and reportedly full control over her bed and breakfast empire. Fans are calling it the Mary era, and she's leaning into it. New clothes, bolder posts, and fewer apologies. One friend of the family said, "Mary's done with chasing validation. She got her payout and she got her peace." Meanwhile, Cody's left trying to rationalize the outcome. To him, it may have started as a noble gesture, a way to be fair in the eyes of the public. But it's now being reframed by everyone around him as a loss of control. The money's gone, the land's gone, the unity is gone, and Robyn, his last remaining ally, is looking more shaken than smug. Because if Cody's empire can crumble over that next domino, some insiders claim might already be wobbling, and it could come in the form of a legal revisit.
She wasn't really living her full life, I guess you'd say, because she was always waiting for Cody.
Whispers around the Flagstaff community suggest that Cody has been quietly asking about options for asset correction. In plain English, trying to retroactively frame the Coyote Pass payout as a mistake. One rumor even alleges he consulted a lawyer about potential misrepresentation by the ex-wives. But if that's true, it raises a dangerous question. What exactly did Cody sign? And does he believe he was tricked into signing it? Because if there's one thing Janelle and Mary have shown recently, it's that they're not afraid to push back, especially if their names are being dragged into some revisionist history. At this point, the ex-wives have something Cody may never get back: narrative control. Janelle is thriving. Her tone is calm, her smile steady. She hasn't ranted. She hasn't pointed fingers. She simply walked away, richer, freer, and far more rooted than when she started. Her karma line wasn't just poetic. It was strategic, a cool breeze of confidence, served at the exact moment fans were wondering how she truly felt. It said everything without spelling out a single name, and that is power. Mary, too, has taken the high road, but with a sharp heel. Her posts lately haven't screamed revenge, but they hum with new energy. Viewers who once pitied her are now applauding her. She's no longer waiting by the phone for a call that never comes. She's booking trips, running her business, and building a future with that $305,000 boost that she frankly earned. One fan put it perfectly in a comment thread. She gave decades, he gave up. And now she's giving herself a chance. And in the background of it all, Christine, blissfully remarried and visibly glowing, is becoming something of a spiritual mascot for the Sister Wives audience. She left first. She left loudest. And now that the dust has settled on Coyote Pass, more and more viewers are seeing just how right she was to get out when she did. Christine saw the writing on the land, joked one producer. Everyone else had to wait for it to be sold. But while the women find footing, Cody and Robyn seem to be sliding. The payout wasn't just financial, it was symbolic. It signaled a loss of central authority. For years, Robyn was positioned as the queen of the castle. But now, the castle's crumbling, and viewers are noticing. A recent Reddit thread laid it out bluntly. Cody gave away the land, and with it, whatever control he had left. And that's what stings most. It's not just about money. It never was. It's about pride. About legacy, about realizing too late that the empire you spent decades building was never truly yours to begin with. Now with the land gone and the women rising, there's a strange silence coming from Robyn's corner, and fans are picking up on it. For someone who once cried over broken Christmas traditions and pleaded for unity, she's been noticeably tight-lipped about this massive shift, and maybe that's by design. Insiders allege Robyn is trying to stay out of it, focusing on damage control behind the scenes, but that doesn't mean she's unaffected. One source close to the crew claims Robyn broke down in tears during a recent confessional, lamenting how nothing is how it was supposed to be. She reportedly said, "I thought we'd all grow old there. I thought that land would bring us back together." But instead, it split them apart even further. Because once the checks cleared and Janelle and Mary made their exits official, not just emotionally, but financially, it was like a door slammed shut. And for Robyn, who's long been accused of manipulating dynamics behind the scenes, that door might have slammed harder than anyone expected. With the cash redistributed and the legal ownership wiped clean, she's left with memories and regret. And that may be why, according to whispers, Robyn is pushing for Cody to reclaim the narrative now more than ever. That means more filming, more sit-downs, more chances to steer public sympathy back their way. But sympathy's in short supply these days. The tide has turned, and viewers who once watched the show as entertainment now see it as a cautionary tale. Comment sections are flooded with praise for the women who walked away and side eyes for the ones still clinging to the ashes. And let's be honest, Robyn's victim voice isn't landing like it used to. There's a fatigue setting in, a sense that the performance has run its course, that maybe, just maybe, she's mourning not the family, but the control she thought she'd keep forever. Meanwhile, production insiders are reportedly bracing for impact. With the new season underway and the land drama front and center, they're walking a tightrope balancing Cody's demands for editorial protection against the raw, real fallout that's unfolding. One editor allegedly described the footage from Cody's private confessional after the sale as barely airable, not because it was inappropriate, but because it was heartbreaking. A man grappling with the fact that everything he held onto slipped through his fingers. And yet, the show must go on. Cameras are rolling, tensions are high, and one thing is certain. This chapter of Sister Wives is unlike any that came before it. There are no weddings, no new babies, no holiday specials full of awkward toasts and fake smiles, just raw endings, financial reckonings, and women finally stepping into their power. But there's one more card left to play. One move that could tilt everything again, because rumor has it, Janelle might not be finished talking. Allegedly, Janelle's been approached multiple times now by producers, publishers, even podcast hosts with offers to finally tell her full story. Not just the clipped sound bites and edited confessionals, but the real, unfiltered truth behind the land deals, the final years of the marriage, and what really pushed her to step away from the only life she'd known for decades. And while she's turned down most of those offers in the past, something shifted. Insiders say she's seriously considering a book deal, one that would chronicle her journey from obedience to ownership, from quietly enduring to finally owning her narrative. One publishing insider even claimed if Janelle says yes, this could outsell Christine's wedding special, easily. And that possibility has Cody rattled. Because as much as the Coyote Pass payout hurt his wallet, a tell-all from Janelle could devastate something even more valuable to him, his image. Over the years, Cody has worked hard to control the edit, to soften his harshest moments, to frame himself as misunderstood rather than manipulative. But if Janelle comes forward with receipts, with context, with years of kept silence suddenly unleashed, that mask could crack wide open, and she wouldn't be alone. The buzz is that Mary, too, has journaled religiously throughout her sister wives' journey. And though she's never been one to stir the pot, those journals may become more than just private reflections. There's talk of a joint project. One source said, 3 voices, 1 book. Janelle, Mary, and Christine. Not a burn book, but a blueprint. How they survived, how they woke up, and how they left. If that happens, it won't just be a cultural moment, it'll be a reckoning, and Cody knows it. Because in the court of public opinion, these women have something he doesn't: relatability. They represent every woman who stayed too long, who believed too deeply, who gave and gave until there was nothing left. And now that they're rebuilding, it's more than just revenge, it's a revolution. But as Janelle weighs her options and Mary flirts with newfound freedom, there's one thing they both seem to share: peace. Real, unforced, no cameras needed peace. They're no longer fighting for Cody's time or validation. They're not auditioning for his attention or competing for his scraps. They won, quietly, completely. And Cody, he's left with his regrets, his dwindling influence, and a very expensive reminder that you can't buy loyalty. You can't hoard control forever. And sometimes the people you tried to manage end up being the ones who rise stronger, sharper, and $610,000 richer. So the question now isn't whether Cody will recover, it's whether he's finally learning or still scheming. Because if there's one truth the Coyote Pass saga made painfully clear, it's this: once a woman finds her footing, no amount of spin can drag her back. And that brings us to the final ripple in this story, a twist that even longtime fans didn't see coming. According to recent chatter in Sister Wives fan groups and a few loose-lipped locals in Flagstaff, Cody has been quietly shopping around a new business idea. Not real estate, not another shared home scheme, but something altogether unexpected: a men's empowerment retreat. Yes, really. Sources allege he's been pitching it as a healing space for men navigating divorce, blended families, and get this, media betrayal. The irony isn't lost on anyone, because while Janelle is out there buying land in her name and Mary is thriving solo, Cody's talking about helping other men take back control of their lives. If the whispers are true, he's trying to turn his downfall into a rebrand, but the timing feels off. Fans aren't exactly eager to take life advice from someone who just lost nearly everything: his marriage, his unity dream, his land, his public favor. One former crew member reportedly rolled their eyes when asked about the retreat pitch. He wants to teach men how to lead families, they said. But whose family does he still lead? And that's the haunting echo underneath it all. Because while Cody spirals deeper into reinvention, the women he once led have already arrived. Christine's married. Janelle's land is hers alone. Mary's eyes are forward, not back. Each of them found something Cody is still grasping for, a path that doesn't require power to feel whole. Social media has become a kind of scoreboard, tallying quiet wins for the women and fumbled optics for Cody and Robyn. Fans post side-by-sides, Janelle smiling in front of her new property versus Cody pacing in frustration during a tense sit-down. Memes fly, commentary mounts, and behind it all, there's this collective knowing, this sense that the shift is permanent. The man who once sat at the center is now circling the edges, and every attempt to reframe the story only tightens the lens on what he's lost. Still, the real power of this chapter isn't in the drama, it's in the transformation. Because what started as a messy land sale, tangled in resentment and old promises, ended as something far more important. It ended with these women reclaiming their agency, their worth, and their freedom. They didn't explode. They didn't beg. They just walked away with exactly what they were owed, and then kept going. So now, we turn it over to you. Do you think Cody truly regrets giving up the land, or does he resent losing control even more? And if Janelle, Mary, and Christine do tell all, would you want to hear it? tap that like button, hit subscribe, and stay tuned, because the next video on your screen is waiting, and trust me, you won't want to miss it.